Okay. All right. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank, the 90 minutes of fathers talking about fathers for fathers. Wow, we doing it all for ourselves in the Trinity of fatherhood. Uh, I just want to welcome everybody here tonight to the Fatherhood Think Tank. I am Dr. Ron, the curator of the Fatherhood Think Tank. I see we have our guests, our father team tonight. As always, look like they're bright and ready to get into the topic for the night. So I just let them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their fatherhood experience, and then we'll get into the night's topic. The night's topic is the father's love, and that can go so many ways. And I know that it's gonna get into that place tonight, the father's love. But I think that's a great conversation to have during at the beginning of this Black History Month, as people would say. I know they celebrate Black History Month in February, but people like myself, I celebrate Black History Month every day because Black History Month is every day. There's not nothing in America that wouldn't be created without the as we've been called so many, the Negro, the Black, African American. Um, but one thing is clear: this country was benefited from us being here. So, uh, good night, gentlemen. Welcome, and let's get ready to talk.
So I guess let me start real quick. Vaughn Howard, father of two, husband of one, married for going on 19 years. Um, love everything about being a father, everything about being a black man, everything about being a pillar or a aspiring pillar in this community. And then I'm here.
All right, welcome. Good night, Vaughn.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Ed Tinney. I am transitioning to a single dad of three adults, young children, and I have two grandbabies that have uh, been breathing air. I've got another one that's still in utero, waiting on that guy to come on out, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, good night. Welcome, Ed.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of seven young adults, um, three young women, four young men, one granddaughter, and a grandson. So it's always a pleasure to be here.
All right, so tonight's topic we will be talking about a father's love. But before we get into that, I want to share, I think, something that is pinnacle to the idea of what father love is. It's kind of almost like to say, hey, let's look at what what the man is like before he becomes a father, or to be a father, and what those things kind of look like. So I have a little piece I want to just share with you guys, see what you think, how you how you how you how you feel about this. Somebody sent this to me, and when they sent it to me the other day, uh, I think that, you know how people singing the stuff and say, "Hey, send this to send this once you get this message, send it to multiple people and this whole thing, whatever, right?" So I normally don't send, because I have to send Fatherhood Think Tank messages out like I do. I usually don't be sending out a whole bunch of messages, like group messages, because I do that already. The last thing somebody want to hear is me sending them something else that ain't got nothing to do with already the tons of stuff that I gave. But I want to share this before we get into this conversation. It says, "I never seen you fold. A strong man knows how to hold his life in order. Even with tears in his eyes, he can still say, 'I'm fine,' with a smile. I send this to you because you're a strong man. That's why God heard your prayers and said that hard times are over. If you believe in him, send this to 10 other men, including me." I wanted to, that was the whole, I wanted to read the whole thing, but I really wanted to focus on, this idea of being a strong man. And what we do is that, and for me, critically, it also really takes its place into what it means for us to be a father. Because to end up being a father, a lot of people can become fathers, but to be this kind of father, one that is can hold their bound and hold their head, and be able to be strong even when it's troublesome, doesn't come like, and it's not an easy job. It's not one of those things that is saying, hey, I can just wing it. A lot of things we can wing in life. But I don't think that's one of the things that we can win and find success in. So I just wanted to share that, put that out here before we start our conversation tonight about the Father's love. And what does that look like? So I'll let you guys you can speak to this or onto this, but I'm going to throw out to you guys. What is your definition? What do you look at? What do you think about when you think about the Father's love? How does that resonate with you in your life as a father, as a man at this point?
Let me start this off, Ron. I think something like that means literally, in the adage of what the great philosopher Malcolm X said, by any means necessary. I think by any means necessary is that you go to the brink and beyond of protection, of support, of providing for your your child or somebody that is like your child or someone that's in your life. Um, and I think that ultimately that's the way that could be wrapped up in a single point of by any means necessary of a father's love. You go beyond the brink and you'll do whatever it takes. You'll try to move mountains in order for that to occur.
Absolutely. And I think that as I hear you say that, Vaughn, I think about, in the bigger scheme of it is these are the critical things that I'm gonna tell you something. And I'm glad Johnny came on here and let him introduce himself. But I didn't speak directly to Johnny, but I think Johnny knows. This completely off the topic, right? But on the topic. Back in the day, we used to say, hey, this was kind of about men and fathers, iron sharpening iron. To be able to sharpen iron, you got to kind of know what kind of iron you have in the place, right? And I think that Johnny, you think about it, but there was me and Johnny have a mutual friend, who a person that we know, and it was like maybe something wasn't going to work out. And Johnny told him, hey, just check back in with, but check back in. And I want to say to you, Johnny, thank you for telling them that. Because I think that in a big part of uh, you not telling them that they would have never did it, right? Sometimes people have a lot of pride, a lot of different things. So I just say to you, my brother, thank you for telling them because I think it's important that they get back connected with me and we make this bond back that we need, that me and them need. So thank you again for doing that, and let you introduce yourself. Because in a big part, our work as men and as fathers doesn't always have to have some type of tangible. It doesn't have to be tangible. It doesn't have to be like reciprocal. Some of our work is just work that we do because that's who we are. And I'm glad that you shot them back at me. That's what I'll just say that.
No doubt, no doubt. Good evening, bros. Good seeing y'all faces again. Johnny Gaspard, Esquire. Esquire been talking all day, so forgive me. Esquire, just grateful to be on here. Father of two grown adults, but they my kids. They gonna always be that. Grateful to be on here. Always wanted to share the topic. Definitely one I want to talk about in this month that we celebrate love. Definitely appreciate that. In reference to what Ron was referring to, we have a mutual person who that person has stopped hollering at Ron, even though they needed the services my brother provides, because they were concerned about their ability to make sure that he was taken care of. And I said, listen, I know this man, and I just need you to connect back with him. We're going to work something out. And they did. And I know that they're going to be blessed because they just talk so highly of him. I said, well, that's why I sent you there in the first place, because I know what he was going to do.
Yeah, so right. Right.
You know?
And I just want to say that this is so important for us as men, also to the people to say, hey, listen, don't get caught into what we think. Talk and communicate to people, and don't. I
Assume.
give you a great. I
Yeah.
give you a great example. I give you a great example. I was on the bus the other day coming back, and the guy was trying to get on the bus with these two, um, what's the things that you get at the cans for gas cans, that they
Okay.
cook with the good cans. The young
The
boy tried to get on.
oh Lord, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
The
he tried to get on them with the bus. The bus driver was like, "Oh, you can't get on the bus with them. Them flammable." And I
yeah,
walked to the front of the bus and I told the young man, I said, "Yo, just stay
propane
right
tank,
here."
propane tanks.
Yeah,
Lo-
protein. I said, "Stay right here. I'll come back and get you. I'm just going down the street and I get the car and I'll come back and get you." And then I came back, but he was gone. He probably just had a fate. But I think that that is a part of where we at in the society today, where we got to kind of, as much as possible, bring that. And I think bigger part people will have the idea when they know, like when in relation to the topic, a father's love. When we love, we will do whatever it needs to be done for you. Now, I didn't know this guy. He didn't know me, but I knew he was a young kid. Looked like he was carrying two protein takes, and it was ice cold outside.
Hmm, I hear
So
that.
most he had to do was going to have to walk down wherever he was saying he was going, maybe call the Uber, whatever happened. But I was going to come in, hey, rescue him, because I think about myself. I was in a situation, somebody would say, hey man, I'll be right back. The bus could, I understand the bus driver couldn't let him on with the protein take, but you knew that he was getting them. It was cold. So whatever he was getting them for would have been for heat, something to be
Yeah,
warm. So he
yeah.
wasn't just probably trying to get on there.
No, no, no. I again, man, grateful
So I
for
just threw
you
that.
showing your love. Yeah, I got you, and grateful for the topic again. Tinny, Lightborn, Vaughn, great seeing y'all faces, man. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna let y'all talk, and then once I kind of get y'all vibe, I'm gonna stick my face back in the mix. Love y'all. I'm still here.
All right.
No, I like the topic as well. I always, I'm adding words to your topic every time you send it, right? I have to do some modifications, but to make it a little spicy. But um, I think what we're talking about is a father's love language, and what do a father's love language look like? And so I think it
Mm,
varies for a lot of us. Some of us can be very affectionate, um, and then some of us can be very stringent. Now you can be a stringent father and still love just as much as an affectionate father. It's just particularly with men, what does love in action look like? Love is an action for us. People always say love is an action, but for men, it really is. I think when they see that love in action, they tend to complain more about it because it's not as emotional as they think it should be, as opposed to it being actionary or practical as God called us to be when it comes to loving people, whether it be ourselves, other men, our women, our children, and society as a whole. So it always looks different for us. It's just being able to narrate it, because I think our love falls short because for the lack of narration. I don't think we own our narrative most time because women tend to try to define what love is for us simply because we're more strong and silent when it comes to love, and love is an action for us, so it can't be audibly defined, especially by someone else who's not a man. And so with that, it for me, I'd have to stick with love is an action, and it manifests itself in different ways when it comes to men. Um, Even sometimes absent fathers. I was talking to a young lady at my job today, and I told her, I said, listen, a man can leave you because he loves you. And she was like, what? I was like, a man can feel like he's not good enough and you deserve better. And he can literally leave you as an action to love you, to know that, no, sweetheart, you can do better. I am not the man for you. That you either deserve or that I know I can be. And since I haven't reached that particular plateau, I would do you this service. I would love you by leaving you or something like that. So I'm like, and that action doesn't really look practical. It doesn't even look loving. You understand? But the fact of the matter is, in some cases, it is, because that man searched his soul and searched himself to know that, you know what, I wouldn't waste another second of your time in keeping you from the husband that you deserve. So it's so many different ways we can go with this, but I'm just going to be open and wait to hear what the other guys say as well. So thank you guys for indulging me. I always want to say indulging me. All right.
That I like that point you just shared, like born about a man leaving you because he loves you, because he understands either one, he's not ready to be the man you need, or two, he knows he's not the man for you. I think the part a lot of times women have an issue with when we do that part in our loving, we don't necessarily verbalize it to them. We just ghost. and and in ghosting to them, that's not loving. We felt like, and I think a lot of time for us, partly is just us just protecting ourselves from having to deal with the emotion of the moment, because they won't just let you leave. They want to know why, who you go with, because it got to be somebody else. It can't just be you not wanting to. So I think that in of itself is a lot of times why that happens. But just in general, with us as men, when we are sometimes um, showing our love, we don't necessarily communicate it. We as you said, we are action based. So whether that action is active or that action is inactive, at the end of the day, we're still action based. So a lot of times our lack of communicating how we love or the way we love often doesn't look that way. And as such, we get um, our our version of that love isn't understood or reciprocated, or is actually looked upon negatively. So that's one thing. Just following up on what Lightboard shared.
I guess I can uh, describe from a personal perspective what I think uh, what a father's love was for me coming up as a young dad. Uh, I think I had my first kid when I was 25 or something like that. By no means an adult at that point in in my mind, but I had a kid. So my love, father's love perspective was my my fatherhood cup, if you will, was always uh, empty and ready to be filled with whatever challenge that needed to come about being a father. And I would always be open to growth, open to trying something that I've never tried before, verbalizing something that I never verbalized before. Dr. Ron, you had mentioned the word pride. For me, I guess it was no um, big thing, I guess, to set aside my own personal pride. I had no issues, I guess, uh, looking less than perfect, admitting my mistakes, but also staying true to uh, the integrity of my core values. And so my father's love was that of always being open to receive instruction that would make me a better man so that I could be a better father. And that's how I chose to love my kids, just being open to being the best man I could possibly be, and hopefully in turn that would translate into being the best father I could possibly be. But yet at the same time, knowing that I'm an imperfect being, and try as I may, to hit the stars. If I fell short, and I'm feeling like if I hit the moon, I'm a blessed man to be able to at least rise to that challenge. So um, I, I continue to enjoy this day, being a father. It is such an awesome responsibility, and to be able to watch my kids as adults, and seeing uh, the fruits of me and my first wife's efforts in raising those kids to be the kids they are now. Man, I'm just honored, and I guess my biggest thing is being open to growth and continued maturity as a man.
Ed, you
Okay.
just said something that I sometimes we complete and not. I kind of remember sometimes because I know has it another level. This my mind is just is just when you was talking and I was listening and I was thinking about the idea of how you're describing the love that you had and thinking of the love that you had to have as a father after the passing of your first wife to be able to support your children after that, right? That a lot of people don't really get opportunity to even hear or understand what kind of strength that even takes, right? And what it means in the long term of what could happen to your children based on what strength you have. And so often there is this narrative that, well, if that happens, I just, I hear it in my mind. Oh, that poor man, the lady died, and he's gonna be left with those kids, and anything, oh, everything, and that happened. Listen, I've heard that narrative so many times, and I say to myself, well, what happens when sometimes when a father's died, they just say, oh, she needs some support, but she can make it. And it's an awesome opportunity to know a father like yourself, to be able to be around a father who has faced having not the plan, not what your plan to not be a single father and a widow, but that being able to do it and then looking at the fruit of your labor and doing that. I think that is a really big part of being able to look at the fruit of your labor and that result of the time that you was able to do that. That's a big part that people can learn from and help us who are not in that situation learn from that strength of what we should be doing as fathers and how we can find that new love because it is an opportunity you do and this is the opportunity when you became both their mother and their father realistically not because you had to find a way to make up that gap but also try to keep that that gap realistic and a lot of times men have a really good job of are very good at sometimes doing that making up a gap, but making the gap realistic, not overdoing it, as sometimes we see happening in those situations. So
So again, about a father's love, are we looking at it from the perspective of what we learned as a child from our father, or what our belief or mindset is about doing that as a father for our children, or are we looking at it
wherever,
both perspectives?
whatever takes you on the move, whatever takes you to
Okay.
that place,
Well,
whatever carpet you want to fly on.
I'll address from both perspectives because growing up, my dad was definitely my life, still is. My parents been married 50 something years now, right? Was he, uh, as I told him the other day, I learned a lot from what he did wrong more so than what he did right. And him and I laughed about that. But he understood where I was coming from. So my dad wasn't that man that was going to be showing up at your baseball games or at your basketball games. Um, but when school time came around, if I said, "Hey, mama, I want them new," as Ryan, you were talking about the other day, Bally's, last time we were on, I want them new clocks. My mom was like, "Ain't nobody about to pay no money. You about to get these penny loafers and stick a penny in there and call it a day." And my dad would be like, "All right, come on, let's go." And he'll jump and get us in the car and we'll go shopping and then come back and we got our shoes. And mama would be like, "You spent all that money on them kids?" I was like, but he don't ever do this in my mind, right? But he don't send nobody or nothing else. So it's good that he did it on this. But I was just that was the way he showed his love was buying us stuff when we had would it be video games, those kind of things is how he showed his love. He wasn't that dad, I'm gonna show up, come to your parent teacher thing. And he did show up when it came to discipline too. He did show up a lot to that. Which a lot of times I wasn't necessarily happy about. I wish he didn't show up in those well with, but he did. So we that was the way he showed his love. I think the first time we honestly showed a level of man to man loving on each other in the way that we tangibly talked about perspective of hugging a brother or even just saying I love you. I think I shared this story with y'all before. I was in college. I think I was in my third or fourth year, and we had been my dad and I grew up, bumping heads. So he wasn't that person when I called home that I wanted to talk to. Matter of fact, Mama, you good? All right. Well, your daddy want to say something. I got to go to my class. I'm rushing to class, and I get off the phone. That's how toxic, for lack of a better term, our relationship was. But as I got older, and many of my classmates, unfortunately, they lost their fathers. And then I realized, okay, I still got my dad. I realized the impact that not having their father had on them, and it changed my outlook on how to look at him. So I remember we were talking on the phone, and I was coming to the end of the conversation. I said, "Oh yeah, Dad, I love you." And when I tell you, it was crickets, ants, and some other animal that you could hear them walking. That's how quiet it was on that. I said, "Dad, you there?" I said, "The phone good?" He said, "Yeah, I'm here." I was like, "Okay, you good?" "Yeah, yeah, okay." I said, "Well, I love you." He said, "Yeah, okay, okay." And that was it. Conversation ended. And then I remember coming home after Christmas or whatever, and I was leaving, and I hugged him. And you know how you hug somebody and they don't want to hug you, but they just standing there because you hugged them. That's how he literally was. Like he didn't even know how to respond to that. And this was me saying, "Hey, I'm gonna show you how to love me, even though you don't know how to do it because you were never shown it." And that's what I had to learn as I grew up, speaking with him and getting to know him. That unfortunately, if nobody's ever shown you how to love on your children or male children or just in general, you don't know how to show it. And you believe as a man, the way we do it is by providing, making sure our children, our wives, our family has a roof over their head and food on the table. That's the extent of it. So that was how I chose to be different with my kids. So, like I told you, he taught me a lot about what not to do, but he also showed me how I could be better. So I was very affectionate. I was very involved. I was the parent that they knew at the school more than they knew their mama. They're like, "Oh, y'all don't want me to call your dad." That was because they had my number on speed dial. So my kids had a different perspective of who I was versus the way I had of my dad, because I was very involved in everything they did. So to this day, I mean, we still talk often. They call me and we three-way on FaceTime, and they want to tell me their whole life story because that's the dad that I was to them then. And I just feel if you're involved and you show them that you care about what's going on in their lives, it tends to create a level of love and understanding even greater with your children as they get older, because they're gonna start their own lives. They get grown, their spouses, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and you're still trying to be the parent. And I understand how my parents are, at least my mom is, when she doesn't hear from me for a while. And then I finally call. She's like, "Okay, stranger, don't make this a don't make this a habit. That I need to hear from my baby." I was like, "Yeah, mama." So when I don't hear from my kids, I was like, "Oh, that's what my mama talking about." Because they finally randomly call, and then I go into, oh, I do the same thing she did, and I was like, "Okay, I need to check myself there." But that's how I feel. So that's the way I've learned about love, both from what I've learned, and the good things and the bad things about it, and how to express that to my kids. Sorry for talking so much. Love y'all.
Johnny, this is an idea of just as a work in progress. It doesn't. It's not something that there's not a book, and I think a lot of times people will make a perception that there is a code book to tell you how and what should be done, right? And I see this often when people are being very critical of men who are fathers about what they did and how they did it. And then you ask them, well, where did you find out? Where did you that's what they supposed to do and why they supposed to do it? And they look kind of dumbfounded at you a little bit because they're like, what do you mean? That's just what fathers are supposed to do. And I said, well, where did you get that from? Where did the idea of that come from? And then again, some people have a very clear example because they say, this is what I see my father do. So then I say, okay, see, now you have a frame of reference. But your father's way of doing things ain't the only way fathers do things. Every individual person have a different way to operate and manage and do things. So it's really having that kind of conversation because in many times in relationships, people are sometimes looking for you to be something that they miss, are being sometimes the fantasy that they would like. And that's where sometimes our biggest problems come for us because we're just trying to, and I had to tell a client this recently, like, boy, so go ahead and get your rights. Stop trying to trust people and start trying them. And that means, the way I try to explain that is you going this and saying, oh, I should trust this person, everything should work. But you don't know the person to trust. And if you get to the point of getting to this point and say, hey, I'm going to try to understand it, try to get to know you, try to understand how I can wrap myself around you and you wrap yourself around me, then that can happen. And but then when we talk about father-children relationships, children a lot of times don't even know or think about what trust is. We see it because they always trying you. And it's our obligation to show up, so.
But you got to understand that love is leverage that can work in the pro and in the con, right? And you wouldn't know that until you be in love with somebody or you love your children. And you would see people try to use that leverage on every level. Most time, well, 50% of the time for manipulations and the other 50% of the time for appreciation, right? So they're not using it on the appreciation front; they're using it on the manipulation front, and that only not only goes for children, that goes for women too. And I love my women, but I'm like, listen, man, so I think men out of necessity or divine intervention have to be a different type of love. We have to be. And so most times we don't get the privilege to be a nice love. Most times we have to be a necessary love, as you so eloquently said, Johnny. When you go to your kids' school, they were like, "Don't let me have to call your father." You understand? And so, by just on that statement alone, it says that okay, so obviously the mom is the nice love, and you're the necessary love. You understand? So you don't get the parade. And if you do get the parade, it's a military one.
Listen, I'm getting the parade now.
Right.
They understand why I was the way I was.
Correct. And so when you do that, I don't think that I think men, people like men should change. I like no, men have the right to grow like everybody else. and we can validate everybody else's growth but men. So much so because we fall for the stereotype, and we spoke about this on it before, and I'll say it again. We're under the stereotype of you're a grown man. Not understand, no, we're growing men because it gives us, and life gives us a right to grow. If we were grown, that means we have no room for growth. Being grown means literally it's grown, like full grown. It has no potential, no other room for growth. Only thing left is death. And sometimes that's how we're treated in society, stereotypically. But I think most of the time, I think, again, stereotype is, our narrative is mostly stereotypical. It's never really analytical or scientific. That's because they believe, and it's historically true, that with a certain, when you have a certain privilege or male privilege, that you should have no rights, right? Because history always put us on the right side of privilege per se. And so because of that, hurt people syndrome, people tend to strip you of your rights. And that's unfortunate, because almost like if you have a particular privilege in society, be it white or male or whatever the case may be, it depends on your advantage, then people don't think you're entitled to rights, or you have no right, or you have no rights to have rights, or you can't compare your right to my right because you're more privileged. And that's not absolute. So that can work in any aspect. It can work male, female, it can work rich, poor, it can work black, white. And so it doesn't give society room to learn how to love. And so truthfully, systemically and ethically, we don't make room to love anybody, because we feel like as long as you have a particular historical privilege over us, then you would always be indebted to us because of that privilege. You understand? That make any sense? Mm-hmm. And so we hold that heavily against people who may have done nothing to us. And that not just happens for white, black, that also happens for male, female, because you don't have a right to be hurt. You understand? Man, and that ain't people saying, oh, that comes from men. I'm like, no, that comes historically from women. That narrative don't come from men. Men just got it from women, and then we embrace it because we don't create our own narrative any damn way. We just take the narrative that's thrust upon us. And so it may have very well came from your mom, who said you need to man up. And we just assume that it came from a man, because it's, you don't need to man up. We just assume that men create these narrative, and 50% of the time it's women that actually created these narrative rather than men take on. So that's a whole new topic. But when it comes to love, I think it's so universal, but it gives us the right to evolve and to learn how to love. And guess what? You got your whole life. So you do have a right to learn how to evolve in different areas of love for your whole life. That is your right. But we usually strip men of that right because we don't think that love is a resource or commodity that's afforded to men.
Mm. Good point, my brother. Good point.
Love is not afforded to men. And like, when it's funny that you said that, and people would probably say, what are you talking about? That don't make no sense. But that is very much a true factor. That is something that, because not only that people don't believe is afforded to us, we don't believe it's afforded to us. We believe we should show it and display it, but we don't really have a mechanism to understanding what it looks like to receive, or how it should look. So sometimes that's how we end up in some of these awkward relational situations. Yeah, you're right. Some of these awkward relational situations that you guys say, man, where am I? Where am I? What am I doing? What's happening? I see we have South Florida Live. Welcome. You want to introduce yourself? Say children that you have, and the nice topic we're talking about, the father's love. And maybe they just tuned in. All right, I'm sorry. I think I cut you off, Johnny.
No, I know who this is. That's Elder Jeffrey Brown. He's a brother from my church at Newburgh. Pretty good guy. He's strong on these topics, so he should definitely have something to offer.
Brother Johnny, got a question.
Sure.
When you first started telling your dad that you loved him,
Mm-hmm.
and you got the crickets at first, how has that translated in the subsequent years?
Good.
How is he now?
It's a lot better. I actually get a reciprocal I love you at times. I don't get it all the time. I get it. I get it at times. So he will be like, I'll say it, and he'll kind of mumble through it. He won't actually say it. I'm like, Dad, listen, you can just say it, man. It ain't gonna hurt you. So and literally, I had to say that to him one time. I said, it ain't gonna hurt you. Just say it. I love you too. He's like, yeah, so you know I love you. I said, all right, Dad, and we good. So it has gotten tremendously better. I thank God for that. And you know, he's still who he is. My daddy expects you to call him on everything, and when you don't call him, he's like, "Oh, you the stranger." I like, but Dad, like I literally sent him a package the other day. He got it. The man ain't called. The man ain't texted. Say he got nothing. I just happened to, because I track it when I send the thing, so I know he got it. So I reached out and I sent him a text. I said, "Hey, Dad, you got the package?" So I didn't get a response back, but he's the next day he sent me a prayer, just you know, that he forwarded from somebody. So I was like, but hold on, I sent you a message asking you about the package. You ain't responded to that, but you sent me a prayer. So I called the house. So my mom answered the phone, and I said, "Mom, did the package come?" And she said, "Yeah, the package came." And his no good behind I picked up the package, and rather than pick up the phone and call you and say thank you, he figured, I guess your mama gonna tell you he got it. That's her reaction, right? So I call him on his phone. You got the package? Yeah, you ain't get my text. I like, no, I ain't get the text. I got what you forwarded, but I ain't get the text. So he gonna look at his phone talking about, boy, I know I sent you that text. It's here, but it ain't go through. I said, whatever, man. He is who he is, you know. And then he gonna tell me, listen, you the one working. I'm retired. So whenever you find the time, call me. I'm like, but Dad, that's unfair. Because even when I send you stuff, you don't even call to say you got it. Because I know eventually when you find the time, you gonna call me. I said, you know what, sir? I understand your love, so I'm gonna go with it that way. But that's who we are now, Teddy. Thank God.
Hey, you know, Johnny, I mean, that's a great case study for us to really evaluate and for people to be able to look at and understand, like, how love works for us as men in some instances. Now, your dad, I'm just me, you know, case conceptualizing based
Yeah,
on the things you said. The idea of to be able to say I love you is not maybe even something that is not, not that is not natural, but it's not something that, you know, traditionally that he would even say in that capacity, because uh, it's more of like, you should know I love you. Look,
correct.
you know, it's one of these things like and that sounds, I know for a lot of people, and let me say this. I I, I want to say this, and I'm going to be very clear because I've been making some real profound, uh, enlightened observations. Our society overall has become very more feminized, right? And what I mean by feminine, I don't mean like feminine, more of the idea of being feminist, right? And so, where our society initially was more, this man way of doing things, man way of communicating, we live in a society now where it is not the standard to be man or like a father. You need to really the mainstream of what you need to do and how you need to operate base is more base of a mother, right? A
Mhm.
woman's touch of things. And if you don't do it, it almost becomes a aspect of you having a problem. Like you don't know how to do it. Where in any instances before that was the main frame. But you know,
Mhm.
when you think about, oh, people say, oh, now we need to have these boys in school are so bad, they're so out of control. And you weigh it a little bit and you think about why. What are we comparing these boys to? Oh, we're comparing them to the girls and how they operate and come and sit and be. submissive and in line and in order to follow your direction, do and not be rebellious, not be rambunctious, not moving around, not So our society has evolved in that way today, right?
I agree.
And it has a strange generational line that what we've learned and what we know now is different from what many people who are a couple more generations ahead understand or even think is important, because the importance is you even seeing me is important, right? You see me, you eat, you got somewhere to live. I'm in the house every night. Do you know I love you? Because look at your partners, look at other people, and that becomes it's not becoming it because we have evolved in such this this feminist viewpoint of things, the equality for women to have a certain power and become a standard. Now it almost makes for the men to look like they got something wrong with them, and they gotta fix themselves to get on board for what's going on. And that's not unhealthy. That's a healthy thing for us to recognize, to begin to balance ourselves, to say the way of our old doesn't have to always be the way we do stuff. We can get you can ask about. Listen, I think Ed is the best person to give this example. How you raised your children, right? The mannerisms and the attitude you had was different how you probably was raising children in your next marriage.
That a question, Ed?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know if I did anything different. It was a different kid, so my approach was different to that kid. But the overall,
yeah. I got that. Because I'm thinking, because I guess let me give a better example. I know for sure the way I see my present father operate with my younger brother is not in any capacity of how he dealt with me and my sister, me and my older sister, and definitely completely different than how he operated with my middle sister, who lived in the house with him as a daughter. Right? Us older kids who was.
I would agree with you on that, Ron. Mm-hmm. But again, your dad is a different man. He is what they say with knowledge. If when you know better, you do better.
Right. Right.
So so now he knows better. He's been exposed to different things in reference to family and friends, and just what society is now allowing him to be exposed to. So as a result of that, and he's been exposed to you, right, his son, who deals with people who need this type of loving and understanding, and because right, you now understand what the expectations are, I would use. I'm sure you've shared some of that with him, which has now allowed him to be a different father than he with your much younger brother, and so a lot of that, I used to be mad, and I think, when you're a child and your parent loves and this is not from my personal experience, but from other people's personal experience that I've seen, where the parent loved you a certain way or treated you a certain way, and now they're now older, they're financially in a better place, and they have your younger sibling, and you see the way they treat your younger sibling, and you get kind of like, I would slap this younger sibling real hard if I could and not get a criminal charge, because I feel like I'm getting the short end of the stick, and that's just the human in us at times when we're going through whatever it is that we're going through. But when you look at your parent, like I said, you are grateful, as Brother Lightborn just said, that we are always growing. We're not stuck in just that person who we once were, but we're always growing. So we know how to be a better man, a better father. At least that you would hope that's the case. But oftentimes society doesn't allow for us to be that new person or that different person. You know, they often say when they said a leopard can't shed its spots, a zebra can't get rid of its stripes. That's how they look at us as men oftentimes. But I am grateful that you're now experiencing that your dad can change.
Well, listen, I'm gonna say that I don't believe he changed. I think he recognized, because he still got the mindset of a lot of this stuff from my time, right?
Yeah.
But he has realized he had to evolve to be different. And again, I would say, listen, he also went through our programming for a lot of there. So you know, so he had much more experience. He also has his own programming that he goes through to help himself be more accountable and be more responsibility of his own, spirituality type activities he involved with. So it is I think you said it right. It's a growing thing. It's not a changing thing. It's a growing thing. And
Isn't it though? Because if you generally when people grow, they change.
Yeah, but change. I don't like to use the word change, because if he changed, that means that he ain't the same person he was before. And in many instances, he is exactly the same person.
Okay,
he has, instead of being a porcupine that's gonna stick you with the pines, he's become maybe more of a skunk that might only spray if he have to.
You know what, Ron? I don't care how y'all swing it. Dr. Ron, these analogies, I mean, they're priceless.
Those are two completely different animals.
But you know,
I get what you're saying, though.
You can't pet a porcupine at all.
You can't pet it at all.
A skunk, but if you do the wrong thing, you're gonna get this.
I got you, dog.
Hey, I will say this from a practical father's love scenario. You are a different dad to the personality type of that kid. Your core value may remain the same, but your approach has to be different based on the type of kid you got. My oldest daughter, she was very compliant. I really had no issues with her. In fact, I felt like it was God's joke on me to allow me to have boys, because that showed me that you ain't the dad you think you are, because now you got these two little rambunctious boys that you got to grow up.
Yeah.
And with my oldest son, just a different personality type. So my approach to loving him was different than that of, say, my youngest son, who was just gregarious, laughable, water off a duck's back. There was nothing, really you could do to tweak him. But, my oldest son, he felt things very deeply. And so my approach to loving him was different than that of my daughter, who was the oldest, who was, you are a different dad depending on the personality type of your kid. So from that practical level, maybe Ron, you might be experiencing that with that of your siblings, because maybe your dad had to look at your sibling just a whole different way than he had to do with you. So he may have been a porcupine, but
I saw you go with
realize that as you grew up, Oh, well, I don't need to be a porcupine. I can just be a skunk now.
Yo, Titty, I saw that one coming. But you're 100% right, because I was different with my boy, my son, and my daughter. So different with them. You know, with her, I just had to raise my voice a little, and she was calm. It was done. That was her discipline.
Yeah.
She would cry, whatever. My son, man, I had to be physically involved with ensuring he understood where I was coming from.
No, right? You thought you was the greatest dad in the world till that boy came along.
Listen. I said, my God, this boy here. But you know, today, you know, we laugh and joke about some of the things that they had to go through. At least him anyway. And listen, it was a time. Let me tell y'all this one story as to the difference between my kids. I don't know what they were doing, but something happened in the house. And it was something about, I found they threw away food, sandwich or something. I saw it in the garbage or whatever. So I said, well, who threw it away? And neither of them would say who threw it away. It wasn't me. So I said, there's only two of y'all here, so somebody had to throw it away. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to be like Solomon. And you know how Solomon cut the baby in half and he said he'd go do it, and then one of us. So I said, all right, I'm going to give both y'all a whooping. Right? So I'm thinking, whoever did it ain't going to let the other one just get a whooping for no reason. Well, they both got whoopings that day, right? So now we grown. Now they older. We talking. And my son said, Daddy, I was not going down alone. She was going to have to get this whooping with me too. I said, my daughter was she's still mad to this day about that whooping. Because she knows she didn't do nothing, but she got one too, right? And when my son today said, Daddy, I understand what you was trying to do with that Solomon thing, but it just didn't work with me because I was going down. That baby was going to get cut in half because I said, boy, if you don't, but that's who they're different now. Of course, we're a little older, but that's who they were. They were just two different people. And I definitely 100% agree with you until you love them according to their personality. And it makes a difference in the child as well as with you as the parent.
Well, when you're talking about Solomon, you got to understand love is wisdom, right?
So because you trying to say, like, well, I had no wisdom with that one. I should have known.
Well, no. You use wisdom, you understand, but it wasn't your wisdom. You borrowed.
Thank you for that. Thank you
right? For that. But with that wisdom, I think with love come wisdom. I don't think you can have wisdom without love. You rarely see a wise, wicked person. It just doesn't fit like water and oil. But with love brings about wisdom. And because of that, I was listening to Ron, and I was like, wow. I think Ron didn't say it, but the way I see it is it's a very big honor because it's very rare that you will see somebody humble themselves enough or even to a certain level of sacrifice to come and it's very rare you see your father become a student of yours. When he told me his father went to the fatherhood class.
Yeah.
What type of, you understand? So I'm sitting there saying, okay, if I had to translate that that situation or that experience into love, where would it scale at? Like, what does love look like when a father humble himself enough to become a student of his child? You understand? So, and I think so oftenly moments like that get glossed over.
Yeah.
And I think moments like that don't become teachable moments for us to understand that fatherhood was never really over when you became 18 years old. Fatherhood evolved to a certain level that the interest rate went up on your relationship, but we never understand that either. And so what we think is it's really whatever happens that's of value that happens after 18, we treat it more as a debt than we do as an interest. You understand? So we just feel like it's a debt, like they owe us this particular thing when it's actually new capital. You understand? It's new money. It's new value. And so when you treat new value like a debt, then you would miss the moment to really make it a teachable moment. So I thought that was so profound.
So I got a question. I know I've been kind of off camera a little bit because I'm doing some daddy duties as far as going to get everybody something to eat. But so I guess I want to look at it from a personal perspective as it relates to how my father reacts to me or has reacted to me over the course of time and how I react to my children. So I'm my father's only son. Well, I'm my father's only child, at least as far as I know. And I think that I'm my father's only child. Actually, I'm almost 98% certain I'm my father's only child.
That keeps changing, Brother Vaughn. That keeps.
But you always got to put that 2%. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
But my father, when I was growing up, he was, and I didn't realize this until I got, at least in my teenage years, that he was very much so a drug addict, right? So a lot of my childhood years, I remember, of course, my younger years when I stayed with him, my grandmother, things of that nature. But at that time, it was a lot of activity that he kind of didn't allow me to see. But in my as I became a teenager and even became an adult, when you wanted that father's love, it was there, but he didn't know how to showcase it, right? So when I say he didn't know how to showcase it, it was almost like how you were saying, Johnny, like when your dad will tell you, you're like, all right, dad, love you. And you're like, all right, son. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something that you need and you always long for, specifically as black men and black boys, from a father, because that's your superhero when you think about it, right? And to not necessarily have that and to question, like, damn, did my dad really, does he really love me? So to go into fatherhood now and to try, like, my kids will tell me that they love me, and I'm like, yeah, I know, you know what I'm saying? And like, I don't want to do the same things, but I'm like super overprotective of my children. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to know their every move in a sense. And my daughter's going to be a senior in high school next year, but I got to know, like, nah, you can't go to the gym by yourself at the complex because I don't know how these people act around you. You know what I'm saying? So, but now on the reverse side of that, my dad, as I've gotten older, is more the affectionate one, like making sure I'm good. He constantly tells me he loves me. And it's like, well, damn, I needed that when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to translate that to my children now, saying, well, I know you love me. Like, I'm doing the same thing in the sense that he did to me, but I'm there in their lives. So, like, but they know that I love them. So how do we work through that? Because we didn't get it ourselves directly, but we want to employ it into our children, but we just don't know how to receive it from them.
But Vaughn, let me say something to you. The difference between you and your father is, and I only say this because the difference between me and my father is that he, like you said, he was going through something that kept him away. Your father, we sometimes discount, like, drug abuse or when someone has something going on, and also the other part we discount is that to come from that and go into AA and NA and really work the steps, 12 steps, and the program changes them as a person. So when you're saying now he seems like mad supportive and giving you love, is because he's learning that. He's learning how important those things is. And one thing I continue to learn, and it's funny because I learned it through my dad, going to an AA meeting. If you never been to an AA meeting, you never been to an NA meeting, you never been to one, you have an assumption now that it look like on TV. Nothing like that, right? It's nothing like that. And when you're there, it is an environment of, like, this environment. Listen, the Fatherhood Think Tank fatherhood programs I've been involved with have been based on the theory of how I operate based on my experience in a AA program. I ain't never been in. I've been there, but I felt like, hey, the atmosphere here is for everyone, and everyone is equal. Everyone can feel right. And there's no expert. There's no. Everyone comes and brings something because everyone has their experience, and that is the kind of same type of experience I always advocated when I was facilitating a fatherhood type of meeting, because that gives you this enlightenment and exposure to things from the other people in the room, in a way that can be a tool of empowerment. It can be a tool of enrichment, and then be a tool of self-development. And a big part of that then is where you're seeing this. And I think, Vaughn, if you describe, I can tell you that exactly this way your dad acts, the same way my dad acts. Same kind of, and you're saying, well, where was all this before? Well, we can't worry about that now. That's because I think that the big part about that is we're getting it. And guess what? People always say, oh, you can't heal that wounded child. This, you got. Yes, you can. Everybody can be healed from the person they felt that hurt them. And you can get it back if you want to. If you don't want to, you want to hold a grudge, then you ain't gonna get nothing back. But in this case, you can get it back, and yes, you can be 50 years old, and you can still be healed, because people walking around right now still that 13, that 10, that 8-year-old kid that they was when they felt hurt and never getting healed from it. So in this place, I think for you, it has empowered you to say, I'm going to go above and beyond for my children, because I am here, and I'm going to make sure that my kids don't experience what I experienced. And that's really the circle of life to me.
So the crazy thing about all that, though, Ron, is that even when he says that, like I never like was like, Dad, you this evil person, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you went through what you went through. All I wanted you to do was be pops. You know what I'm saying? That's all I wanted you to do for me. So I don't hold a grudge. So I just want to let him know, though he's doing it more, that it's I guess I'm your safe space. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I want to talk, we watching the Super Bowl or whatever, we talk about sports all the time. That's probably our connection, right? And it's well, all right, son, you watched the game? Yeah, I watched it. How how you like the team, whatever. Okay, well, I gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're not giving me that time that I'm longing for. Even like I'm at this 47-year-old man, but I still are longing to be that 8-year-old boy. Like, Dad, I want to talk with you about this. You know what I'm saying? So like, or like little things. So I'm trying to get him out of his shell. Like, you don't have to be dismissive in a sense when it comes to your to showcase it, and like I long for that stuff, and it's like he wants to. I guess he feels embarrassed, and I'm like, bro, whatever happened. That happened 30, 40 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I'm here now. Let's savor the times that we have at the moment. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I find myself like my daughter come in here and say, "All right, Dad, good night," and she'll hug me, and it's like I'm giving her a hug. She knows I love her, but it's like it's not as always an embrace all the time. And I'm trying to see, am I doing the same thing that my dad, what I wanted and my dad did to me in essence.
I was listening to Vaughn. You saying the reason he was keeping it short is because he don't want. Yeah, it sounds like he's avoiding disappointment. Like he don't want to make no room for disappointment, so he keeps it short. Like he keeps it wherever it can be successful. Y'all relationship can be successful at this point, and y'all make that successful communication. That's where he's like, okay, good. Let's end that good. And so every time he's talking to you, he always wants to end that good. Not so much necessarily your good or his good. He want to end at the good that he can accomplish. Because guess what? That's just probably all he can accomplish at that, or he feels he can accomplish. And so I think sometimes we have to, and this is what we have to realize as adults, not just men, but because I've seen a lot of older men in different settings say the same, almost pretty much what your experience it was, Vaughn and Ron, where they felt like they didn't get a certain thing from their dad. And I'm like, well, I had a revelation where I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe you have to give to your father what you didn't get from him. And imagine why you equipped with it and he's not. You understand? And so sometimes, and not sometimes, all the time, we always know that love is a reciprocal streak and it reciprocates. So if it does reciprocate, sometimes God may have blessed you to give it to him versus him giving it to you. He may never be able to give that. He may not even ever be equipped, but don't devalue what he can give. If all he can give is that short communication for the fear of failing the communication, you understand? Then that becomes the equity.
And I get that. And I think selfish is like, you know, you always had no matter how old you get, you always got that little boy in you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, Dad, let's go out. You know, I don't want to say let's go out and fly a kite, but let's go out and fly a kite. Like I want that to be that. You know what I'm saying? So like even with my son, you know, hey son, I feel disappointed when I can't make it to one of his games because of another event or I'm out of town. You know what I'm saying? But on the flip side, I didn't necessarily get that. Like I literally, when I graduated college, right, I came home, you know, stuff was going on in school. He dropped me off at school. I came home and I promised myself I'm going to finish school, right? When I came home from college, when I graduated college, I sent him the invitation. I said, you know you're more than what you going to always be there. And I didn't see him like with the rest of my family. And I was like, damn, my dad ain't going to be here. But then all of a sudden, he pops up. And I'm like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, just that simple presence. And I think I carry a lot of that stuff as an adult. And, you know, the brothers say, bro, you so sensitive and stuff like that, whatever the case may be. But I think my sensitivity has what that aspect of sensitivity has to deal with. You know, you want to feel wanted and appreciated as a person, or as some of the things that I did not get as a child, or you want to make sure like, damn, I put a smile on their face. And when it doesn't happen, you beat yourself up about it. So that's, you know, those are the struggles, even at 47, that I'm dealing with. Like I've been writing a lot lately. And literally one of the ones I just wrote today is how you build those walls around yourself that, you know, there's self walls. The same way you build them up, I have to be strong enough to tear them down.
Mm-hmm. Self-erected walls, huh?
Right, self-inflicted walls. Correct. And that's literally what that this article that I've just written actually talks about. And you know, and the self-inflicted walls are like, damn, am I good enough? Am I courageous enough? Am I strong enough? Am I weak enough? You know what I'm saying? It's something. So, you know, I have and I know I probably need to go to therapy. I went once before, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, though at the end of the day, you know, it's not hard. I try not to carry these things every day, but I see myself having because of life's situations, inflicting this on my family and inflicting this on my friend, and or being hard on myself than I necessarily need to be. I could be doing an absolute wonderful job, but it's just something saying that I'm not doing enough because I'm not getting that, you know, okay from the right people, I guess you can say.
So Vaughn, I'm going to say this: of all the things that you just described, right? Put that double fold on your dad. Put a double fold on him, and I say that because this is what he is dealing with, and he don't have the knowledge you got. So he needs you to be the person to usher him into. Listen, you know, it's funny that we'll usher somebody into our church, or we'll usher them into our organization. We'll do, you know, we'll get them involved with this business, the crypto, get them involved with all these things. But when it comes down to real things that we need to usher them into, we uncomfortable with doing it because we think they should do it themselves. And so a great part of what I'm hearing you say is that you have the skills, but remember your dad's genes is your genes. He thinking just like you. but he don't have the knowledge, he don't have the skills. He using the skills he got, and he also dealing with a social construction of dads that's not good, people angry and don't like.
I, I
I heard
kind
more people say, oh, I don't want to hear nothing about that Negro. I don't care nothing about it. Even when the person trying to do the right thing. I ain't never heard nobody say, I don't mess with that chick. I don't deal with my mom. But they'll never say that. But the fathers already come with this, come with the rain cloud over their head. Sometimes we got to say, no, Pop, here the umbrella, man. Get out the rain.
with Vaughn's situation, I think if I just, and I'm just empathizing with your dad, not excusing what he did, but empathizing with the experience of it. He's not scared of who you are. He's probably scared of who he wasn't. And
right. It's interesting you say that, like, Lauren, because I will tell you from a social media perspective, like we interact a lot via social media as it relates to, he'll like everything that I put on there as far as accomplishments, as far as family, as far as what I'm doing with the fraternity or what we're doing in the community. Like he likes when I say my biggest cheerleader from a social media perspective, it's almost like feeding me with a long handle spoon in a sense. Like he'll see it, he looks at it from a distance, but then it's like he won't tell me, son, I'm proud of you, but he'll definitely put it in writing. Like, dog, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you. So it's like I see it, I appreciate it, but it's just that one or two times I just need you to tell me that. And know that I'm no matter what, bro, I'm in your corner and you're in mine.
Go ahead, Lightborn. You were saying.
No, that was just basically, and again, it's not a matter of fact of who you are, it's who he wasn't. So, and sometimes I think back to that, it is a self-inflicted trauma because he's just afraid that he may encounter something with you, that relationship with you, that he don't have the words for or the narrative, and he can't. And I think his past, he still punishing his present for his past. So he punishes himself in the present, and he's loving you from a safe zone, very safe zone. And so I think he does it as more of a right to not hurt you any longer. You understand? And his efforts to not hurt you, he's not really healing himself either. You understand? But he's in a safe zone and say, you know what? Maybe if this is the best I can do without hurting my son any further, then I will stay in this safe zone, even though you may need more, which will require him to go a little further. But if the safe zone secures y'all relationship where it's at, I would rather have a peaceful relationship than no relationship at all. And so
good point. I would say this, and because you talked about therapy, Vaughn, you know how they have couples therapy. You could have a father-son therapy session where both of you get a chance to just everything like Born just said may be what he feels, but you need to hear that. and that session may allow y'all to be able to do so because he's not comfortable saying what Lightborn just said to you because he doesn't know how to do that in your face, in your physical presence. But if you are sitting down with a third party mediator, for lack of a better term, in the event there's something that's said or done that may inflict some level of hurt, that person can be there to, for lack of a better term, block, heal, stop, whatever it may be, or redirect. That's a good word. Redirect what that negative thing may be. So I think that would be something that may be helpful for you to do with him. And I don't know if you've already asked him about it, and he was like, "Nah, that ain't for me," because because my daddy definitely ain't the one about to sit down on nobody's couch. I'm telling you that now. I know who he is. I said at 73, 74, if I ain't got it by now, I don't need it, and I ain't gonna get it.
So let me tell you, I actually years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I was going through this thing, and I think that's when my writing started kind of taking off. So I wrote my dad an email because I knew he was going to read it, right? And I actually wrote him and my mom separate letters or emails. It's like, hey, you know, what was up? You know what I'm saying? Like literally, like what was up as it relates to. I know y'all were there, but y'all weren't necessarily there. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all love me, but it wasn't that always that daily touch or that daily expression. So I wrote them letters, and on one end, uh, my dad never responded. On the other end, my mom and my other siblings, got like pissed. So it was like, all right, I said what I had to say, and I'm gonna love y'all unconditionally, love you regardless. But I just want to know just for self, and that could have years ago been something that could have not had me in these questions right now. And again, I don't want to prolong the show, but when you think of a father's love, to kind of tie it back in,
Brother
I don't want.
Ron,
Yes.
real quick question.
Uh-huh.
If you never get what you're looking for from your dad, how are you going to conduct yourself with your kids?
So all I can say is that I've tried. I've used those. I've tried with him. I've used those experiences in life, and my personal experiences of. I don't want to say what not to do. But I can't. I can't. I try not to. How can I say? Try not to. I want to say even make mistakes like that. I try not to go down those paths. Let's put it that way. That I may have experienced personally with my children. I always let them know, like, listen, whatever you need, whatever, no matter how mad I may get, know that you can always come and talk to me. Know that I'll always be there for you, and know that regardless, I expect greatness from you. But if you fail, at least explain why you fail, and we can work together to work through it. So I give that to my children every single day. Uh, I have a little old school in me. It ain't like I'm here beating them, but I expect the best out of my children, and I think that every father does. But I think for me, because I look at the paths that I should have been on, quote unquote, and the path that I kind of took. How you can go. You're supposed to go north, and the directions tell you to get on 95, but you want to take 441. Well, some parts in life, I took 441 going north. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't want them to take, even though they need to experience life themselves, I don't want them to take that 441 route. Stay on 95 as much as you can. And if you can, get on the turnpike and get a sun pass. You feel me? So that's how I am with my children. And and maybe to a fault, I'm harder on them than I need to be, but I always want them to know that I'm in their corner and I want them to be great.
So in response to Tinny, I was going to say, go ahead, Tinny.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just make sure you keep, being the best dad you can, because you may get blessed with what you need from your dad sometime in the future. But be prepared to continue being the best dad you can be, even if you don't get what you're looking for. I think that's all that anybody could ever ask of you, is just to make sure you're being the best dad you can be, whether you get what you need from your dad or not.
Amen. Good word there, Tinny. A father's love.
Father's love. Well, hey,
There
listen,
you go, Rod.
let that be the statement right there. I knew it was coming. I was looking at the clock, and I knew that. One thing about Johnny, he a lawyer, boy. He count the time, money, boy. He count that up, boy. He ain't like me. We to 10 o'clock at night. No, you got to check the clock. Anyway, with that being said, let me just go through quick the sponsors, and get that out of the way. Again, we want to just thank our sponsors, Fort Lauderdale Bros, that's Zeta Chi, 1954, Fort Lauderdale chapter Omega Psi Phi. We also got the Omega Lambda, Philadelphia Q's, established in 1980. Yeah, Omega Lambda. We got the Nigerian Q's, established in 2024, out of Lagos, Nigeria. Sponsor supporters. We got our main man here, Big Dog, Jag, attorney at law, Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach. If you're looking for a lawyer, someone who's on his feet, get our Big Dog, Johnny A. Gaspar Esquire. J. Gaspar at jag1law.com, number 305-827-8087. You need to see the type of law he practices. Go to the website, www.jag1law.com. Another one of our big sponsors. And if this conversation brought some more, you might feel like you need to talk a little bit more, you can definitely reach out to me. But if you need to hit a hotline fast, hit the Fatherhood call center help line for dads. That's 1-877-4-DADS-411. Regular number 1-877-432-3411. Offered by the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse and Fathers Incorporated. That's the Fatherhood call center, and you can check them out. Well, with that being said, listen, this conversation tonight, man. It was every time we never fail, man. I have yet to see a moment when we came into the tank and left here saying, hey man, this was a waste of my time. As you watch and as you listening, I know, people, you gotta have a lot of time. You gotta be able to concentrate for 90 minutes. I know we live in a society where people kind of only concentrate for 90 seconds. You don't get what you need in 90 seconds. You out. But some things are so complicated, you need to spend a little bit of time with them. And this is one of the things. If you haven't heard anything from the conversation tonight, then realize that it takes time to really process and go through. Well, keep on listening. Come on back. Maybe we can make you understand a little bit better. With that being said, Father, repeat after me. I am.
I am.
I say I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am
a man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I say I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship. With that being said, I want you to remember that we keep our kids on our arm, hanging off our arm, and our families on our back. And we'll see you here again next week for 90 minutes of fathers talking about fathers for fathers on the Fatherhood Think Tank. Like, share, and subscribe. Get the ding so you can be a part every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. I want to thank the guys for coming out tonight. As always, excellent conversation. Things really being put into play. And we really got it going on. I want to really thank you guys for sharing, being open enough to help other people learn from our own experiences. With that being said, we'll see you here again next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank.
All right, my brothers.